right, today is a very special Sunday. First of all, yesterday was Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's to each and every one of the couples. Yeah, I hope you had a wonderful time together as a couple or as a family. And on this special Sunday, we are joined by very wonderful guests, right? And I know a lot of you are looking forward to seeing them here. First, I would like to just acknowledge a few people who are joining us here. We're joined by the KEA Family Church. Came all the way here, KEA Tacoma. Yeah, our pastors from the KEA Church are here, Pastor Hayan and her husband, yes. Yeah. And all the way from California, we are joined by our Regional Director, Reverend Kevin Thompson and Masako Thompson. And all the way from America, we are joined by our Continental Director and President, Reverend Demian Dunkley, and his beautiful wife, Yumiko Dunkley. And of course, we cannot forget Timothy Dunkley. All right, yeah. And to each and every one of you for joining us here today, right? And those who are coming soon as well. And to just share a few words, I would like to invite our Regional Director, Reverend Kevin Thompson, to share a few words with us this morning.
Top of the morning to you, and the rest of the day to myself. Nice to see Seattle Family Church full. Isn't that great? Last time I was here was for Unmi's inauguration as the new pastor, and I tell you, the band were just incredible this morning. And yeah. Nelson looks 20 years younger. There he is. He's always been in the band, but I thought, is that his son? Wow. Beautiful decorations. My wife and I just came from Las Vegas from the Chunbo Great Works. Chunbo Great Works was held on Valentine's Day. So just before we left home, my next door neighbor, I said, oh yeah, my wife and I are going to Las Vegas for Valentine's Day. And she said, oh, how romantic. Reverend Thompson, what are you going to do, take in a show? Or? I said, no, we're going to do Ansu, and we're going to liberate some dead ancestors, and we're going to marry some other dead ancestors. And she said, oh, Reverend Thompson, you're funny. Yeah, in our church we do things different than most people. But it's lovely to see the decorations here. I feel like Valentine's came to Seattle, and that's very beautiful. I mentioned at IPEC for the Great Works, some people have PTSD. You know what that is? I have CPTSD, Chungpyeong TSD. I went to Chungpyeong 3 times for 40 days back in the old days when there was no buildings, and I got PTSD where I didn't ever want to go again. And then this morning when I was pulling into the hotel to pick up President Dunkley, there was a car in the spot that I wanted. And my wife said, okay, I'll pray to my angels. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I said, if that car moves, I'll go to Chungpyeong for 40 days. That would be the greatest gift I could ever give to my wife. And guess what? The bloody car moved. Oh, man. I'm still not going. Anyway. Romance or not. It's not every week that the president of our church comes to Seattle Family Church, right? So, do you know this is Demian's first time in Seattle? So, you should really appreciate him, appreciate his wife, and give them the best Seattle welcome. And, Demian is now on a national tour. He wants to go to every one of our churches. Why does he want to go? Because he wants to speak to you? No, because he wants to hear from you. He wants to connect to you. He's looking for energy from us as much as we are getting energy from him. And he's doing a phenomenal job as our president. Don't you agree? Do you know why? Do you know why I know he's doing a phenomenal job? Because True Mother really trusts him. I don't know that ever there's been a president of our church so close to True Parents. I don't know that there's anybody, not just in position, but in heart. And he really gets True Mother. He gets in a way that most Western people have a hard time to get a Korean person. But Mother's special. And Demian is special because he gets that. So we are really privileged to be here today to receive a message from him and hopefully have some fellowship with him downstairs afterwards where he wants to hear from people. And, doing this tour is exhausting. You know what it's like when you're over 30, 40 years old and you travel place to place? You get exhausted. But he's determined to go to every one of our churches to have the chance to meet every single member. So that's really special. That's precious. And do you know what today is? Today is the anniversary of the day that Father arrived in America in 1965. Yeah. And there's a lady lives in the Bay Area who Father stayed at her house in 1965. And she told me some interesting stories. She said when Father came to stay at her house, Father told her, I want to taste every kind of American food. So she made, spaghetti and meatloaf and all kinds of stuff. She made, things that were typically American food. But she said, he kept putting this Korean ketchup on everything. He smothered everything with Korean ketchup, gochujang. And she said, I was cooking in the kitchen, and he was sitting at the kitchen table on the phone, talking in Korean. And she said, I just looked at him, and I said to myself, she said to herself, who is this man? Who is he exactly? And she said, suddenly Father stopped Master, she called him Master, stopped his conversation, and he said, I am who I am. Do you know anybody else who said that? Popeye? No, Moses said that. Right? God said it, that's right. So he just said, I am who I am. He read her thinking of what she was, looking at him for. And isn't that how true parents are? Whenever I've been around true parents, it's almost like they can read my mind. They not specifics, but they understand where I'm at. So to be around true parents is actually quite challenging. Dr. Durst told me when he was president, he had breakfast every morning with true parents, And he said he had to go to the holy ground, the rock at Belvedere, and really repent and pray and make sure his spirit was right. Because if he was even 1 degree off, Father would pick it up. Durst, what's wrong with you? What are you struggling about? That's how true parents are. So I know, it's great Demian gets to be around true mother. Not so much these days, of course, but he gets to be close to true mother. But it's also very challenging to represent all of America, to represent all brothers and sisters. And I just think he's doing a phenomenal job. And I think Seattle Family Church should stand up and welcome our president to the stage with a Seattle round of applause that really rocks the house. Let's welcome up President Demian Dunkley.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, like that? Thank you, Reverend and Mrs. Thompson. Yeah. So we've done the jokes now. And thank you, Unmi and Augustine. Aren't they doing an incredible job? Are you happy? And thank you, Yumiko, for coming along this incredible journey. It's been almost 3 decades we've been married now. We're getting on 3 decades, and I don't know any other woman on the world that would possibly be able to put up with me and manage me. So please give my wife a really big round of applause. And she gave me 3 beautiful children, and that's enough. I mean, that's more than enough. I don't need anything else. I'm just so grateful to have people I love in my life. So let's give it up for our families. So, throughout human history, whenever a people forget who they are, the conscience grows quiet. And I don't want our conscience to grow quiet. Amen? And so just on that thought, I want to offer, it's really always in these situations, usually it's just minutes before I get up here that I feel what I want to share. And so, I wonder if this would be clever. No, not clever. So, this is my first time in Seattle. And it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it does remind me of some things. So as I'm sitting down there, everything, some memories come back. Thanks, Reverend Thompson. So I think what wants to be expressed is about our conscience and our identity. Thank you, because I hear Mother talking more about identity than any other. She talks about identity and environment. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And So I want to just share a few stories. And something's occurring to me, and like Reverend Thompson said, I'm coming around every Sunday. Yes, thank you. I'll stream and record the message. And but what motivated me on this tour was not some pre-prepared PowerPoint idea that I wanted to make sure everybody understood, but rather discover together with my American family what is God feeling and what is God telling us and what is God telling me. So this is a discovery tour as much as anything else, even though I may have ideas. So this will be phase one, and then we'll have a conversation, I guess, downstairs. If everybody's here for that, I would really love that. And you can ask questions. This is what I think God wants to express. When I look at the environment, I'm reminded of my childhood in Oregon, but we used to come up to Washington to log. I was only like 4 or 5, but I used to come with my father. And reminded me of, I was just thinking about my father. I'll probably save some of those stories when I go to Portland. So I moved to Europe when I was 7 and a half, 1980. And we lived in London, but I was always in Italy, traveling around beautiful environments in Europe. Many times my dad would say, hey, let's go to Paris for dinner. You know, not because we were loaded, but just simply because you could drive to Dover, put your car on the ferry and drive to Paris and go to some French eatery. We really did. We were not well off at all. We were financially very, very basic. But there's a lot of culture in Europe. There's a lot of exciting things to see. But I want to, and I'm half European. My father's, my mother's like that. But America was the only country that I ever cried for. And you might think it was because the Pacific Northwest is so beautiful. I mean, by age 7, I lived in Nebraska, Denver, California, and Oregon. So it wasn't, and there was no consistency about my life. I just like spotty memories. It wasn't because life was easy. But one day when I was about 11 years old in London, I think I was on the way to the tennis court somewhere in the local town, in the local area, and there was 2 teenage boys, that accosted me. And I was carrying a backpack, and I just have this memory of being spun around, holding onto my backpack. I wouldn't let go of it. These 2 guys, and they didn't get the backpack. I won the thing. I was like quarter of the size. I was just like, not gonna. And I got hurt, but on the way home I was crying. And I was crying because I really missed America. And even back then, I would have thought that it was because it was still kind of where I remember as my home, although I wouldn't have been able to tell you where in America was really my home. As I grew up, I realized it wasn't an external thing. It was an internal thing. And it was something about the spirit of this country that's very different, very, very different. And you've heard me talk about it on each Sunday. If anybody's watched any of my other messages, I touch upon it. It's like the freedom that we experience in the United States of America is unquestionably completely different than anything. I mean, Cambodia is free in terms of you could probably set up a little restaurant outside on the street. Nobody would bother you. You can do stuff. There's no regulations in certain countries, so there's other kinds of freedoms. But Mike, the spirit of freedom here is completely unparalleled, and as you will have heard me talk about, being in Korea and being in Japan as we're being persecuted, as mothers being mistreated, in open, democratic, allied nations that have religious freedom in their constitution. And yet, it's different. Because it seems like they are of the mind that it's the government that's granting that freedom. And that's the difference. There's something very different. And we'll talk about our documents, our founding documents, but it's not the documents, actually. That was just the expression of the mind and the spirit that was working through the people that God was driving for a very specific reason. God made this country. And the reason I was crying on that day was because that was when I realized I'm American. America is my country, and that was my identity. I'm an American. I had forgotten the Pledge of Allegiance by then. You know, you said it every day in school. I'd forgotten the Pledge of Allegiance by then. I probably couldn't remember the national anthem. I couldn't name the states or the presidents. I wouldn't have passed any test. I was into tennis, by the way. I think at some ridiculously young age, I fancied myself. Maybe that would be my future. Because my dad, we had no money, but a friend of his gave him a membership at the David Lloyd's Tennis Club, just outside of London. And he used to take me there sometime. And he got me lessons one day. Tennis coach was an American guy. And he was teaching me how to play. And I was just going for every ball, you know, trying to hit back every ball he threw at me. I mean, even like those ones where you dive, you're extended, and you let the racket go just in the hope that you might reach the ball and get it back over the net. So I was playing with this guy for about an hour. And after about an hour, he says, "Stop, come here." And he comes up to the net. And he says, "Come here." And he says, you know, by the way, I'm a little British boy by now, and my accent now is slightly more American. But by that age, I was like full on, "Hello, father," you know. So all he knows is I'm just another little British kid at the David Lloyd's Tennis Club. And he brings me to the net, and he says, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to ask you," in an American accent. He says, "Are you American?" And I said, "Yeah." "How did you know?" He said, "Because I've never seen any British boy go for every single impossible ball. I've only seen American people fight like that." I mean, of course they do, right? But that was his experience, and somehow God was trying to remind me of something then. And I'm like, yeah, I'm American. Now, usually at this point, I would want to make everybody feel included. And I would, you know, I don't know, probably only half the room was born in America here, maybe. But this morning, I felt God telling me to don't do that. Just own that. Just let that be. Let everybody claim their own identity where they are at. And don't feel the need to kind of bring everybody together for that. I'm American. I'm an American. I'm mixed. I'm a tri-national. I've been all over the world. But time and again, I had these experiences where I could see God was telling me, you're going to go home. You're going to go back home. You know, I've got work for you, and don't forget who you are. You know? So that's the first story, okay? So you can applaud. Give it up for American people. The next memory that came to mind when I'm sitting here listening to that incredible music. Yeah, you can give it up again for the music. Incredible. Was when I came back to America to find out the truth for myself about my mother and about the Unification Church. And some of you may know, but just so you know, there was like 20 years of pre-deprogramming, okay? I know it's like, I love it when people tell me negative things. Do you know? I have a PhD in everything wrong about whatever our church leaders or people were doing, because I was highly educated about this church, because my dad wanted to make sure that I made up my own mind. He didn't give me a very objective education on it, by the way, but I understand why he did it. Right, Sandra? So, and that was all probably part of God's plan, I guess. When I came back, I think, John, you were there. And I came back and I was in Belvedere. And I think, John, it was you that had this idea, why don't you sing a song? And I was in Belvedere with probably about 30, 40, 50 second generation. I don't know who put this together. I was literally just kind of months back and only just like beginning to study the principle. Sandra is my lecturer, by the way. She's my teacher, Sandra Lohan. And I felt like at some point singing this song, I think I felt like an idiot. But I was singing a song and playing a song that I had written that was meaningful to me at the time. And it was all about coming home and finding out why. Why did I grow up without a mother? What is the real story about this? But none of this is important. What I want to say is, in that moment, in that room, I felt like I was coming home. And it wasn't just America. There was America there. But this is where I was realizing, oh, actually, I come from this community. And I had dreams. I had were they memories or were those also dreams? And it wasn't, later my father would tell me stories. Oh yeah, when you came back from America and you went to your grandparents' home and you'd sit down for dinner and you'd be there saying, shouldn't we be praying before? I was like 3.5. Are we not going to pray before the meal? And it was more of a humanist kind of energy going on there. And it wasn't like, oh, let's pray, It was probably 1.5 generations removed. Well, 1 generation removed, my grandparents' case, from Church of England. And my great-grandmother, of course, was very devoted. But my grandfather's generation, this is the post-war, they were in the war and they were post-war yuppies. You build your own life, and it was popular to not rely on prayer for grace. You build your own, you're responsible for your future. And so they were very proud of their success, and they had this is their environment, but they were also the ones feeding me and loving me every summer. But I would hear these stories later in life about how when I was a child, I was very much a little Mooney boy, I think, And But not just that, it was like cult and religion and God, everything was blocked out. You know? Not really aggressively, but I think if I would mention something, it would be, you know, Demian, you know? And because from their point of view, they were really protecting me from something extremely dangerous, right? So anyway, is this making sense? This is the second story that I experienced coming back to America. Yes, to meet my mother, but I was coming back to something that so many people misunderstood. And it was something that true parents were creating. It's something that God was creating. It's something that you guys were creating. And I'm just testifying to you that when I touched it, it wasn't because anybody convinced me. It wasn't because I had, you know, it wasn't because of the amazing lectures or some amazing music at church on Sunday or church on Sunday. It wasn't, I'm not just a member because I was witnessed to. You know, they say 1.5 or Jacob, all of that stuff's made up. It doesn't mean anything. But actually, I can testify to you, in my case, I didn't join. In my experience, it wasn't like joining as a first generation. I was joining as a first generation, making my choice, but it felt like I was coming back to something that I was born into, even though I wasn't. I was literally in diapers when my parents were witness to, so I was probably the first time I sat on a toilet. I was, you know, at that age of life, I was already in, right? Right, Sandra? I was still in diapers, right? I think I was still in diapers. You changed my diapers? But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about identity. This was me coming back to something that I didn't know I'd ever left. Do you understand? And it was the same Spirit and the same God that was touching me. That was the, you know, touching, you know, when I was mugged or when the tennis guy, you know, all these things were kind of lining up for me. I was coming home. There's my story. So you can close that chapter with a round of applause for the movement. Now, this was our community. And in my case, it was built on the foundation of being an American. But already at that level of my identity, it wasn't limited to America, right? I'm finding, this is all over the world, right? My third and final story is just recently in Korea on True Father's Holy Ascension anniversary. And True Mother, I don't know if you know this, True Mother moved me into Hannam-dong. Before she went in, she moved me into Hannam-dong. Demian, I want you to be here, and I want you to live in Hannam-dong. And the church is going to support you, like whatever you need. And she gave me certain instructions what to do. And nobody understood. I mean, you can imagine that's, yeah. That would be like Mother giving a foreign leader East Garden. Not Belvedere. Like, go to East Garden, and the staff will support you and serve you, and the national church needs to support you, and this is your mission. Can you imagine, Mike? Like, that would be like, ooh, that's not easy. Like, who's this guy coming in? Like, I'm so stupid. I didn't even think of those concerns. Even after all this time I've been involved, I didn't think of those things. I was just mesmerized by Mother's, like, vision and what she was looking for. And so I was there in Hannam-dong for Father's Holy Ascension anniversary. And because I was there, we were invited to offer our devotion and kyungbae in the room where Father would meet leaders. So there's the main room where many of you went for hundoke, and sometimes you would see some top leader, just the one, maybe two, would go into this room. And there's another room, maybe kind of like about a little less than half the size of this room, square room. And it was adjacent to True Parents' bedroom. That's the third level back. And so I'm in this beautiful room, and there's a special mattress and like a Asian screen behind, and they're explaining to me the meaning of this furniture is only given to Korean kings. Now, this is a style of Korean kings. And you know, while we're there on the tour, some of you may have, I made a video about this because I was so moved in this, you know, I was getting the tour from Mrs. Moon, who is the former national leader's wife, former first lady of Korean church, and she's taking care of Hannam-dong. And so she took me on like a full tour. Like she says, usually only like the really devoted pilgrims, because, you know, a lot of Japanese come through and they you know, but I was given the full access tour and all the stories that go with it. And as I'm thinking, you know, it's like we really need to listen to those people that attend True Parents, whether it's security or the kitchen staff, because they've got such incredible stories. But at the same time, I feel like they're often like they're not aware of how precious those stories would be for the members to hear. So she takes me into, I'll give you just a couple of stories within a story, okay? She takes me into the True Father's office and True Father's desk, and it's right outside, right inside from the koi pond. The koi pond, you know, Hannam-dong is on UN Village, it's overlooking the Han River. It's this most majestic place on the hill. And this house, apparently everybody wants to visit this house from around the area. They're all curious about it. And this has something to do with what Mother was asking me to do, by the way. But so I'm getting this tour, go into Father's office. You can hear the bubbling water of the koi pond outside, where True Parents used to pray every morning for the ocean providence, feeding the fish. And the fish are so happy there. And the sound is so peaceful there. And the atmosphere is so deep and so spirited there. One of the things Mother said is, you will see when you go there, many Japanese members go there and they have spiritual experiences there. She told me. So go there and I can't tell you what she, anyway. So I'm just getting a tour. There's a few other members there of staff and Father's desk, and this is where Father sat, and this is where Mother sat, and Mother would sit at Father's desk, the other side. And these are the things that used to happen when True Parents were here. And I asked, well, they moved to Cheonjeonggung in 2006. So did they ever come back? Yes. Occasionally they would come back, especially when they, often after big events, they didn't want to go up to the big place on the mountain. They wanted to come back home to Hannam-dong. Now what about after True Father passed? Yes, Mother came back many times. So what did Mother do? This is our true Mother, who was repeatedly, you know, beaten up for saying anything different than Father. So just for a moment, imagine, husbands, you die, and your wife not having any other voice of any complimentary message, anything different. Like, ask your wife right now, if that's okay, will you only ever say everything I do only what I do and what I say, and don't add anything? Don't add anything of your own. Just please take a moment if you'd like to tell your wife. No, most husbands are not really wanting. So anyway, mothers, I saw how beaten up Mother. It's not from meanness. it's ultimately from ignorance, which is from insecurity. And insecurity is because I forgot who I am. I forgot I'm God's son. So I need the external framework to stay as it is, to not challenge my understanding of who I am and my identity, because my identity is related to my value. So I asked, did Mother come back to the Hannamdong since Father passed? Oh yes, many times. Or when? The same. Usually after great victories or great meetings, she would come back to Hannamdong. And what would she do? Mrs. Moon said, I saw her come usually to Father's office. And in Father's office, there's this kind of ornate little, looks like an 18th century settee sofa, right with the window behind, with the koi pond behind. She said, Mother would come sit there, put her hands out, and then lie down to take a nap. And then I'm wondering, what if people really understand what Mother's thinking, who she is? This is, yeah. Then we go out, I'm just like, oh my God, you're not allowed to take, okay, go my. And then she takes me to the bathroom. The bathroom, and right outside the bathroom, there's a chair and a table in the hallway by the bathroom door. So there's a bathroom, and there's like a makeup area. Ladies, you got a nice dedicated makeup table with a mirror and a desk and a chair and drawers. Isn't that nice? That's nice. It's right in the bathroom kind of alcove. And then outside there's a hallway with other doors and just traffic of, family, hallway is really. And then in there in the hallway, by the door, right by the makeup table, by the bathroom, is a little chair with arms and a table. And I asked, what? It looked I promise you, this is somebody's halfway through moving furniture from A to B, and they've left it there. So I was curious, like, what's this chair doing here? Not like I'm the inspector. I'm just like curious. Are we doing renovations in some other room that we brought stuff out? She said, and this is the kind of story. Everybody needs to know this. She tells me, this was Father's chair. And I thought, well, why are they leaving it in the hallway? Why are they leaving Father's chair in the hallway? Now, this is Father's chair, and he used to sit here while Mother was finishing up in the bathroom, while Mother was finishing up doing her makeup. And what's the table for? Father would read scripture. And then he would start eating breakfast. Like, I don't know how long Mother took, but there's you can imagine, there's 150 members gathering out in the driveway. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. They're on their way into that big hundoke room to meet true parents. All you see is true parents coming out, sitting how they sit, speaking how they speak, doing their thing. But behind the scenes, before all of that happens, after they've taken their showers and Father's done his exercise and Mother's dried her hair and now she's getting her clothes ready and doing her makeup, turns out she takes a little bit longer than Father does. But instead of Father tapping on the table or making her impatient or going out by himself, he sits there in the bathroom with Mother, reading scripture, all the way through to actually eating breakfast in the bathroom while Mother's doing her makeup, within eye shot of Mother. How deeply he loves Mother, and how deeply united they are as our true parents. So that's the story within the story of the third story. but just a few months ago I was there. And it's True Father's song. I didn't know that we would be invited. You know, for me it was just another day. I didn't know how we would be up in Handamdong celebrating, you know, honoring Father's life by remembering this day. And I was in there, and I bowed down. This beautiful wooden floor, beautiful, like, you know, these Chinese, like the whole wall is cupboards, and it's all mother of pearl inlay. It's Korean, but most of us would think it's like Chinese. It's a beautiful room, and the spirit in there. And I bow down, full bow, and then we're praying. And as we're praying, something washes over me that I had never experienced before in Korea. And it stayed with me for like 3 days, this feeling. It turns out later this day, I went to see Mother and I told her the story. So I'm telling you the story I told Mother. I bowed down, and as I stood up to pray, and there's like 7 of us there, and this feeling washed over me, and I didn't know what it was. It was a different spirit, a different smell, a different feeling, and an imagery came to me, and what I saw was an old Korean grandmother in old traditional clothes, standing outside a traditional Korean house. All of the modernity of Korea was wiped away. All of the buildings, all of the technology, all of the fast-moving fanfare, all of this bustling, you know, thriving, you know, culture was all washed away. And it was just the traditional Korea. It was just the original spirit of Korea, undistracted. And I could smell it. I was standing on this soil, and I was standing in front of this grandmother with just this typical country scenery behind her. And she was looking up with her hand up, and she was crying, not like crying like this, screaming, but not like screaming like a wild lady. She was calling, she was beckoning, she was longing, she was pleading. It was a pleading cry. And she was representing her nation. She was representing her people. She was representing thousands of years of the spirit and heart of this people, this country. And she was pleading and calling, help, help. In this moment, John, like my feet were going into the soil of Korea, and I was being born as a Korean. Something about that spirit was coming into me. It wasn't about me. I was starting to feel something deeply at the DNA level connected to another realm of my identity, I guess I can say now. Although at the moment, in that moment, I was just like, what is going on? It stuck with me. I was having, like people were, you know when you have these experiences and people come to you and it's like, oh, hey, what would you like to drink? You know, it's like, why are you asking me such banal questions, you know? Why are you so stuck in the trappings of daily routine? Like, I'm having a deep experience here. Like, I'm being reformed, refashioned. Nothing else mattered at that moment. Like, oh, you know, traffic or cars or schedules or time or food or nothing mattered, because I was having a much deeper experience. It was happening to me, and literally in that so I was constantly like crying. Because, you know, when you have these, you're just crying. And then when you have these kind of rebirth experiences, you look around and everybody else looks different, right? And everybody's talking to you like the old you, and it's like you can't relate. But I was on my way to meet Mother, and Mother had a meeting, and she was asking, and I mentioned this deep experience to Mother. And she said, yes. This is being called to build a Chonyeolgeuk. You know, so not Japan, not Korea, not America, not a church, not just a community. There's, in terms of identity, it's something going deeper and deeper or higher and higher. And the closer we come to our identity, the less you need of the rules and order of structure, some idea to ownership, right? This was the experience I had on that day, on the anniversary of True Father's Songma. I felt I was being called by the ancient spirit of the Korean people that had come to this time and knew that we're at a huge turning point in human history, and it's happening on the Korean peninsula right now. By the way, before Mother went in, there was not one thing she said asking me or America or any other leader that I heard to help her or to help our church. It was all about how can we help Korea? How can we save Korea? How can we save the Korean people? How can the Korean people fulfill their responsibility? At the same time, as our motto now says, the chosen people are the blessed families. It is us, regardless of where we were born and our birthplace identity, our formation stage identity. We are called to be the people, the chosen people around the world to help build and save the sovereignty of Cheonil-guk, substantially centering on our true parents. And America has a role to play in that, and it's needed right now. That's the end of the third story. So we talk about ownership, right? We talk about following our conscience. But if we know who we are, in Ohio, one of the second Genesis, she asked me, well, what, in the meeting afterwards, she said, what, and she's so fantastic. She's second gen, she's in the band, she's on the stage, she's already serving, she's already showing up. And she asked me, well, what can we do, right? And I said, one thing I want to mention to all of us, especially the kids born into this movement, regardless of what you're doing right now, I've heard the most consistent word from Mother is identity. When she speaks to the elders about educating the youth, she talks about environment. But when she speaks to the youth directly, she says identity, to know who you are. Throughout human history, when a people forget who they are, their conscience becomes dull. And so we've studied a lot about how to keep our conscience alert. But there's no finer way, I believe, than to be living from, thinking from, and speaking and acting from your deepest sense of your identity. And what I'm also telling you is that our identity is growing. Why do we fight politically? Because our identity is too shallow. So it doesn't, people getting all excited about their political differences, to me, doesn't mean anything than a conversation happening at a lower identity vibration realm. You're actually wanting the same thing, but simply relating at a lower, colder vibration, and you wonder why you don't agree. Well, because along that plane, there's many different alternative perspectives of the pinnacle. And you're trying to find the pinnacle, you're looking through the fog. So you're kind of, right? But when you're standing on the higher ground, when you recognize your identity is that place, and when we stand together on that place, we become unshakable, unpenetrable, we become unbreakable. And from within the context of providence, America is playing that role right now. And within America, we, the faithful, are the ones responsible to keep America there. And we will not do so by keeping our differences more important than our common ground, higher ground. And where we stand on higher ground, we are all in one loving environment, high vibration. That's where Mother is, like literally waiting, longing, kind of, I see her sometimes just excited to see you experience what she knows God has waiting for you, me. and simultaneously frustrated. I've measured mother's frustration equal to the distance of our experience and hers. It's like that's where her frustration, that's where God's frustration, that's where Jesus' pain came from. O Jerusalem, how I would gather you under my wing. Jesus did not see the promised land as thousands of years away, thousands of miles away. The indemnity surely had been paid. The foundation had been laid for true parents to be born. So we've been hopping on one foot for 2,000 years. Thank God we had a foot to hop on. But we've been hopping on one foot for 2,000 years, and we're shocked that now the other boot came to land. Don't be shocked. This is the most incredible time in human history, and we're being, tested. But it's not the laws, it's not the politicians, it's not the day-to-day, week-to-week fluctuations of the court case that will determine the future, really. It is us, because we are the chosen ones, and we will be able to bring that glory if we fulfill our responsibility. And we can fulfill our responsibility if we heighten our conscience, individually, as families, and as a people. And I believe we can heighten our conscience if we simply pay attention to who we are, to pray on that, to think more on that, to act more on that, and to go deeper with that, to know who we are. So why do we fight? Why do we divide? Why do we do these things? Is because we are afraid. Why are we afraid? It can only be because I've forgotten who I am. I forgot that I'm God's son. So how can I be fearless? How can I be fearless? How do we become fearless? How do we become truly loving? How do we become truly powerful? Is to remember who we are. To remember who we are. To remember who you are. No matter how many thousands of years it took to get here, no matter how many thousands of generations of ancestors' right choices for you to be able to, in your lifetime, find true parents, to find God through true parents. In this age, you are here. Don't be a doubter. Don't be confused. Don't think that the clouds cannot part for you. They can. Don't be satisfied with just some Jesus on the mountain or Dr. King on the summit or Father up there high, just googly-eyed about how incredible he is, or be so questioning or googly-eyed about mother either. She is our mother. True parents are our parents because they won the fight. They won the battle to establish that foundation. Thank God. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank God they established that foundation. The first couple to do so. But we are not a wandering people, wondering who we are and wondering who's in charge and wondering what's the truth. We know the truth and we know who we are. If we remember it, we will not have to be afraid and we will not have to act from our insecurities. Guys, you are incredible. Look to your brother and sister and say, hug them, tell them whatever you want. Just recognize each other. You're incredible. We are incredible. We are God's children. And right now, blessed to live in the United States of America. And I'm telling you, we need to preserve the freedoms that God put here. Don't let any government or any politician or any celebrity or any leader make you think smaller of yourself. That's where they control you because for whatever reason they want more power. But they don't need it, Sandra, because they too, as God's children, will only find if we let go and do God, will be good and be good together. Adieu. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Reverend Dunkley. Thank you. Yes. And actually, yes, I'd like to invite Pastor Augustine to offer a prayer.
Please join me in prayer. Our God, our Heavenly Parent, good morning. It's so beautiful for you to be here with us today. We really feel your presence because the environment has been created for us to really experience you presently in our lives today. The wonderful environment that was created by the heartfelt work of our band and the deep, sincere message that has been given to us by Reverend Demian Dunkley today. We've really felt and learned a new way to look at who we are as a people and as individuals, and to really appreciate our identity, because God, you created us with so much love and so much conviction and so much intention. How could we want to be anything other than who you have made us to be? Who we are as individuals and who we are as a community and as a society and as a people is the most beautiful thing in the world. And we are so grateful to have been reminded of that today, to have been shown how precious each moment of our lives as people is. And what you have given us is such a gift. God, our Heavenly Parent and true parents, we are so grateful for this time, this second Valentine's Day service that we've had, but more than anything, this reminder of who we are and how much you love us in our lives. So I thank you and offer this prayer in gratitude and attendance to our Holy Mother Han, and in deep support of all the work of our true parents, and in just support of our true mother as she goes through this time. Let us be present with her and let us fulfill her wish for us to be truly divine and blessed and wonderfully happy families. So I offer this prayer in gratitude in the name of all Oxymatics of the Central Family. Aju.
Thank you. Yes, you may be seated. Thank you. Yeah, I felt like I just wanted to pray after hearing the sermon. One thing I felt really deeply was I really miss Mother. But as Reverend Dunkley said and reminded us, not to forget who we are. Never forget who you are. Remember who you are. And as he's doing this tour, as he's here in Seattle, Washington, with this reminder of remembering who we are, standing on this higher ground. The higher ground is not this thing we're looking for, this mountain we're imagining. It's you. You standing up in your true self, your highest consciousness, right? Going up and remembering that you are a son and daughter of God. And remembering this beautiful foundation that our true parents have sacrificed their lives for, right? Yeah, so, yes, thank you. And with that, actually, I just want to really thank Reverend Dunkley and Yumiko-san for coming here and embracing us as the Seattle Family Church members. They remembered that we are here, right? And they came to see us and came to remind us to remember and never forget who we are. And yes, if Reverend Dunkley and Yumiko-san could come up here, we have a gift for you. I'd like to invite our next-gen pastors to offer the gifts. And Seiji can offer the flowers. Let's take a quick photo together. I'd also like to invite our regional directors, Reverend Thompson and Masako-san. Thank you for coming to Seattle. We love you. And this time, Hanukkah will be giving the flowers. And the gifts by Paige and Mikey Akolaksi. beautiful Hanukkah. Yes. All right. Thank you.